Hi everybody. So with people realizing that streaming services have a limitation, such as the movies that you're paying to see on them can go away at any given time, and they're getting to be expensive. They keep raising the prices, and there's many of them, and the movies you may want to see are scattered across many of them. It can be a pretty expensive proposition to subscribe to a bunch of streaming services, and sometimes the quality isn't as good as you want. A lot of people are realizing that with DVDs being so unpopular in the larger picture among consumers, they're finding then, as I have been for many years, that DVDs are like $1 at half-price books. Sometimes they're 50 cents when they have half-off sales. So a lot of people have been taken by the collecting bug, and they are also finding out there's a new problem for them, that as they're getting these bargains, they're ending up cluttering up their living space. So I'm going to show you one method that I've come up with to help combat this so that your house doesn't look like a video store. Although some people like that aesthetic, they like their whole house looking like a tacky video store with a whole bunch of different colors and garishness. I don't like that. I like a more classy look. I do have a lot of CDs in here, but I don't want to have a whole bunch of either, I don't know, VHS, DVDs, or Blu-rays just lining the wall. Because if you took all the ones that I had, they would literally line the walls of the entire house. Because I have untold thousands, okay? So we got to get that down to a small space. I've come up with a way to do that that's kind of aesthetically nice and pleasant in its own right while keeping it sane. Let's look at it. So I'll show you something real quick here. This is really all the DVDs I have in actual original cases. We have television shows. There's some in the back behind those, and then more TV show sets. Then all my Blu-rays are pretty much right there, and then behind them, and these are like DVD sets that are in special packaging that I don't want to separate from the packaging, because either they're multi-disc sets or in unique packaging that you can't really separate, like this King Kong, which is in this steel thing. This came out in the mid-2000s, a very nice set. Or they'll have a slip case. You can separate the slip cases and do them the way that I'm doing them. A lot of times I don't want to do that. But anyway, so that's really it. And I do have some concert DVDs over here. Classical concerts, rock concerts, other kind of concerts in there. Some reggae, whatever. But how can one have a collection and keep it manageable? Not have like this entire room just filled with DVDs, which would just be awful to me. So what I got right here is a standard DVD in a standard case. See the standard black case. So what I'm going to show you here is, there you go. Now sometimes there'll be an inner tracking sheet here, which I'll show you how to deal with that too. So what I do is, of course, you can just pull the art out of here. You can pull the art out. It's hard to do with one hand, but let's get it out. There it is. So we got the art. So what I got are these. These are called sheet protectors. They're plastic binder sheets. You can get 16 of these for $1 at Dollar Tree. Of course, it's $1.25 now, but you know, that's the best deal going on these right now. These are really thin. They're not the best quality. There's some that are thicker out there if you want to pay more. But for most uses, including the ones I'm about to show you, these are perfectly sufficient. They seem to be archival quality because I've never ever seen them degrade. So what you're going to do, I've got one out already. Here's one. I'll show you what to do. Basically, depending on how you're situating your thing, you just slip it down in the top here. So I got it in there. I'm trying to do this one-handed. You just slip it down in there. I can't do it with one hand, but it's in there. So there you go. So it's like that. So what I've got is I've got this little binder. See? This is the A's. This is the A movie. Now this is the River. This is under R. But what you do, of course, is you got the ring binder. You just slip them over the ring binder, and then you've got this. And this is kind of fun. This actually reminds me, I don't know if you went to video stores back in the day, some video stores would actually do this. They'd keep their videos behind the counter and make you go through books like this. Especially if you're familiar at all with the old porno rooms that they used to have. They do it this way. So you'd have to go up front. And I don't remember if you took the art or how they did it, but they would have the selections in here and you'd look. Let's see, what do we got on this? Got Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Abominable Dr. Phibes with Vincent Price, Absolute Beginners, the musical, Absolute Power with Clint Eastwood, About Last Night, The Abyss, James Cameron. Accidental Tourist, Lawrence Kasdan movie, I think. That was based on a book. The Accused with Jodie Foster. Across the Universe. That was a Beatles movie, right? Adventures of Baron Munchausen, Terry Gilliam. Adventures of Don Juan with Errol Flynn. This came from that Warner batch. This was a 2007 pressing. Warner had a problem between 2006 and 2009 or 2010 with a lot of their DVDs that were pressed in Pennsylvania. They rotted. There was something wrong with their formulation, I guess. I haven't read the technical reason why, but I need to check this disc and make sure it's not rotting. Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl in 3D. Don't know. Never watched that. Affair of Love. Oh, this is a French movie, I think. Yeah, it's got Natalie Bay. Yeah. Affair of the Necklace. Hilary Swank. Did not watch this one yet. Affliction with Nick Nolte. This is a great movie. This was a Paul Schrader film. James Coburn's in it. It's awesome. Really dark, though. Against All Odds. Early, I guess, it's around the 80s noir. Taylor Hackford. Jeff Bridges was in that. Rachel Ward. Age of Innocence. Martin Scorsese. Great movie. Agnes of God. Great cast in that. Agony and the Ecstasy, the Rex Harrison movie. I think this was directed by Carol Reed, of all people. It was about Michelangelo, or Michelangelo, if you will. Artificial Intelligence, AI, Steven Spielberg movie, which is actually a good film. Airplane, so you get the idea. So it's kind of nice to be able to flip through there and see what I got, although I've already got a database on my computer that tells me what I have in my collection anyway. So I'll show you. This is basically my entire DVD collection right here in those binders. Thousands and thousands of movies, A to Z, and then some specialty packs at the end. I got them marked A1, A2, because sometimes they overflow, and you know, for big letters like S, you'll have 2 or 3 or 4 binders. You don't want them to be too thick. I used to make them have really thick ones, but the problem is those don't store very well. They kind of hang, and they get kind of dented inside there, so it's better to keep a fewer amount in the binders. Instead of having thick binders, you want to have just sort of a standard thickness, maybe 1.5 inches. And if you require more than one, you know, there's H1, which means there's another one. And then S, I've got at least 3 binders devoted to S. So what you do with the disc is get a paper sleeve like this. I've actually pilfered this from something else, but I'm just using it for the demonstration here. You know, you can just slip it in the paper sleeve like so. Get in there. It's in there now. There it is. I'll have to erase that and remark it with what's in here, the river. So what I do is this. So there's any number of ways you can do this. You can put them in boxes or whatnot. I've got these little plastic cabinet things. I got them under sheets to protect them from any water dripping, because there are pipes over this. So I'll show you what I got. You just pull them out, and then you got lots of sleeves in there. A to Z. I start down there. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, etc. And they're just, you know, two sides. This is thousands of discs in an area that's basically, what, 6 by 2 feet. Thousands of discs. Instead of lining the walls of the house with them, I can get them. They're easy to get out. I got them marked what movies are in here. You can just pull them out as you need them, like that. Very nice, very ease of access, and very safely stored, like that. And that's where I would put this. I would put this in with the R's. So another thing you can do, like if you have an inner tracking sheet, let me find one. If you have an inner tracking sheet, like this one does, you could just slip it behind, like that. So you got it on the other side. So it doesn't take any additional room, really. I think I'm going to actually make a video where I just go through these binders and show you some of the movies and see if you recognize any of these movies. Be interesting to see the variety that I've got. And I do have a variety. I do tend toward art movies and classic movies, indie movies. But I will have a lot of commercial Hollywood stuff, because, you know, obviously a lot of that's great stuff. And I also have a lot of oddball films in here. So of course that leaves the question that you're asking, which is, what do you do with all these? I mean, these are still going to take up room, right? Well, there's a lot of things you could do with these. You could put them in bankers boxes and just store them in some
closet in the basement away from everything else. If you don't have a basement, you know, just find a kind of forlorn corner and stick them in there. I'll tell you something that I came up with that doesn't even really take up any room because it uses space that is unseen and unused.
Above the drop ceiling. Now I actually stuffed some grocery bags with these and stuck them up along the wall. That way they're out of sight, out of mind. I can get them. All I have to do is lift up the panel and get them down if I need them to repackage. And they literally take up no room because that is all open, dead space up there, not being used for anything. Now you don't want to have too much weight because, you know, those are hanging by wires and you don't want the ceiling to fall down. You just kind of spread it out. You know, maybe put 20 of these in a grocery bag and put them up there. You know, space them out so they're not putting weight on the ceiling, and you literally could store things in out of the way spaces like that.
Now I do have a cabinet that I have these in. I have a whole lot of them in a cabinet, kind of in my tool room where they're out of the way from everything. So what you want to do is just get these out of your room. You don't want these in your actual living space because these do take up too much room. You just put them in a storeroom. If you ever need to rebox one, maybe say you want to sell them or give them away or trade them in, just go to wherever you're storing these and reassemble your stuff, and there you go.
Well, you're saying, well, yeah, that's a nice enough system and all, but isn't it a little harder to see what you've got that way? Not really, because on my desktop I have a folder full of all the holdings that I've got in my physical media collection. Here's my DVD master list right here. Just click on there, get all the DVDs I own right here. There they are, alphabetized A to Z, and then TV shows and specialty items at the end. Of course, doing it that way means you have to be diligent and vigilant at logging those holdings into the database as you get them, which I do. It makes life a lot easier if you just have the discipline to do that. Plus, you don't have clutter. And like I said, you can store thousands of DVDs. I don't know how many I've got. Probably 4,000 maybe? I don't know. You could store them in a tiny space as I've shown you. And some of you are saying, why would I do that? I have streaming. I love streaming. Well, that's nice, but we're seeing a lot of stories now and a lot of other YouTubers are making videos about this. Streaming is not forever. You get a streaming service and they'll have maybe 10% of the movies you want or can have access to. You'll have Hulu, Disney Plus, blah, 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 Netflix, blah, blah, blah. There's a bunch of them. Now you see them, now you don't. Netflix may have a movie one day, the next day they don't have it. Then you find out it's on a different service because they sold the rights and the licensing to somebody else. And you're like, well, now I got to pay $20 to somebody else a month to watch a movie that I could own for $1 and have in my collection. What does the smart squirrel do? He collects his nuts for the winter and keeps them there. And then when all the other people who want nuts come a-running and want some, he's like, well, sorry, you weren't very smart. So is something like this more attractive, sort of, and more convenient on the surface? Of course it is. I mean, ideally, I would have a giant library of video that I could separate from living quarters and have a beautiful video store library of all my holdings right out in the open where you can read the spines and pull something right off there. Well, you know what? My method only takes an additional step or two. And the thing is that it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off on, you know, aesthetics and convenience versus actual realistic storage solutions, which if you're going to get into physical media, you're going to have to confront. And a lot of us don't live in conditions or quarters that are that spacious. Many of us live in apartments and we don't have much room, and also we don't have much security. Obviously, you know, it's easy for people to get at your things in many cases, so that's going to be a separate issue that you're going to have to contend with. So anyway, I hope that was an interesting look. I've seen other people with similar storage solutions to this. Mine is one that I adopted a decade ago. I've been using it very effectively. And again, it's something you need if you're going to collect movies. If you're a big movie fan like I am, and I have a deep love of deep cut cinema going all the way back to the silent days and the earliest silent days. I have a very complete archive of cinema. So If you're going to have something like that, you want to have access to something like that at any given moment, then this is kind of one of the ways you can do it. So one way that I store at least some of my cases, these are mostly those Warner Snap cases. You can go to Half Price Books and get these cases that fit a whole lot of both either CDs or DVD cases in them. And you could actually stack those if you can get those at the store, if they'll let you have some of those. They're very good. They're very convenient. Now, I'm storing some of the DVDs that I've got for sale on eBay in these, and they fit perfectly. I've got them numbered for inventory number purposes. That gives you some idea. I used to store my collection like this, but the problem is by stacking those, it's really inconvenient to try to get at a movie you want. So I stopped doing that and did the other method that I showed you. I also have some cases stored in this cabinet, several rows of them stored this way because this was an empty space that I had that I could use that for.